Hey friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today, Volkswagen and the federal government released this 225-page report, which is the settlement for the TDI scandal known as Dieselgate. In it, everything you need to know about what's going to happen now, what it means to owners, and what Volkswagen's going to pay. What you need to know, it's coming right up. All right, friends, so let's get started on this. I did reduce that entire report to a one sheet here, a cheat sheet of bullet points, so I'm not going to read the entire thing to you. Now, first of all, what this entails is $14.7 billion that Volkswagen has essentially agreed to pay here, which settles the civil suit by the Department of Justice and the civil claim by the FTC for false advertising, the whole clean diesel thing. And so basically what it boils down to is about $10 billion is going to go towards buybacks, ceasing leases on cars, as well as fixing cars that people want to have fixed. And some of that money also goes to customers, and we'll get to that here in a minute. $2.7 billion goes directly to the federal government to, well, it's a fine more or less. The government's going to use that fund to pretty much give away to political friends for pet projects and environmental blah, 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 you know, fun stuff that the government likes to spend money on. $2 billion, Volkswagen's going to have to administer a program to build zero-emission vehicle infrastructure, charging stations, hydrogen fueling stations, basically feel-good stuff that they're going to have to administer and pay for. And they're also going to have to pay for public service announcements and advertising. Basically, it's the equivalent to going and picking up trash on the side of the road if you got a ticket or a DUI. It's paying for it. It's the punishment. Now, customers, that's really the big question here, is what's going to happen with the customers? Well, they're going to get three options, basically. They're going to be able to have their car bought back based on September 2015 values. So it's going to be valued by the NADA guide for September 2015, the clean value before all of this happens. So they're not going to get screwed over depreciation that was caused by this. So in that buyback, they're either going to be able to get it bought back for that agreed to value, or if they have a lease, they're going to be able to turn it in without any fees or penalties or any of that. Now, there are some people out there who they owe more money on the car than it's worth, or that it was worth at that time. And so Volkswagen will also have a loan forgiveness up to 130% of that loan value. So there's a little bit in here for everybody who wants that car bought back. Now, if you want to keep your car, you have an option to have it fixed. They are in the process right now of getting approved the fixes for these cars. And once that option's available, the buyers will have the ability to say, you know what, I don't want the buyback. I do want to keep my car and have it fixed. Now, with all three options, the buyback, the lease end, or getting your car fixed, there's going to be cash to customers too to sort of make you feel good about the whole thing, because there is depreciation involved more than likely. There's angst, there's anger, there's whatever it is that money's going to fix, right? And we don't know what this dollar amount is. It's probably going to vary from car to car depending on age and miles or whatever the case may be. Rumors are it's in the thousands, but it's going to be a significant amount, enough such that it should make buyers happy. Now, here are a few of the details that are going to affect that, though. And what I do want to point out is, before you as an owner make a decision on what you want to do, there are going to be some things about these cars once they're fixed. They're probably going to have less fuel economy. They're probably going to have less power. Drivability is going to be affected. Those are questions we don't know the answers to yet. And if you're an owner who really likes your car and you're sort of hung on whether you want to just take the money and run or get it fixed, I really advise you pay attention to the news, the reports, and what Volkswagen says about this. And we'll get to some of that here in a second. If you do pick the option to have your car fixed, you are not going to be able to go a month or two later, yeah, you know what, I don't like the way it drives, I want the buyback. Unless it says in the final legalese that if the car has mechanical problems as a result of the fixes they do, you can get the buyback. There is a reoffer there, and there's some hoops to jump through, but if the car has mechanical defects that are proven as a result of all of these things, you can get the car bought back after you have it fixed. But essentially, if you choose to have it fixed, you're keeping the car, you don't get the buyback. And there's an 18-month, 18,000 mile period after they fix the car for that to take place. Now, what are these fixes going to be? That really depends on the car, because there's 3 generations of diesel engines here, and each one of them, the timeline I'm getting them fixed and what the fix is going to be different. Generation 1, which is 2009 to 2014 2-liter Volkswagens, pretty much all models with exception of the 2012 to 2014 Passat. If you're in that category, these are the older engines that don't have the urea injection that is the primary method for getting rid of the nitrogen oxides that are at issue here. And so those cars are going to be much harder to fix. And having read through all of the reports here in this agreement, they're going to have to jump through a lot of hoops and most likely add a lot of hardware to these cars. It's going to be very expensive for them to fix these cars. That fix they have to have by essentially the end of the year. That is going to be announced probably this fall, and by 1/19 of 2017 they have to have that submitted. So there's a bit of a time lapse here on that. Those are the people who are most likely going to be the ones who, may want to just take the buyout if they're in a hurry. Generation 2, 2012 to 2014 Passat, that did have the urea injection, but the old engine. That fix is due by the end of the year or March 2017. So that is the final date they can submit. Generation 3, which is pretty much all the 2015 and newer Volkswagens, that has the most modern engine, the cleanest one, as well as the urea injection. On those cars, we're probably going to see the least of the downgrade in performance, fuel economy, or drivability, because more or less they're going to be able to handle that with a software patch, maybe a couple of extra bits and pieces. For those people, I think you're probably going to see just a lot more diesel exhaust fluid that you're going to have to feed that thing, because that's really how they fix this. The earlier cars, those are the ones that you're really going to want to watch to see what the outcome is on how they perform. And as part of this, they are going to have to resubmit, they're going to have to recertify these cars. So before you make the decision to do a buyback or keep your car, they're going to be providing you with a new set of specs, what the horsepower is going to be, what the fuel economy is expected to be. That is part of the agreement. They have to tell you up front what the downside of getting your car fixed is. Ideally, you drive one. I don't know if that's going to be possible for everybody, but I hope that Volkswagen, at least for the newer models, gives the journalism out there a chance to drive some of these cars and report on it, but I'm not going to bank on that. Now, one question that's come up, I've heard it and I've thought of it myself, is what's going to happen to all these cars that go into the buyback program? Is Volkswagen just going to be able to ship them off to Mexico or some other third world place that they don't care about this stuff? Well, the answer is pretty much no. Basically what happens is, and it specifies this very clearly, what happens to cars that go into the buyback program is they have to be disabled. The ECU has to be removed, and that ECU may not be sold, it may not be exported, it may not be sent to junkyards, it has to be destroyed. And that also goes for the catalyst, it goes for the particulate filter. So these cars have to be disabled. Some of those items that are on the car either have to be destroyed or removed before that car can be exported, before it can be sent to a salvage yard. And they have to document this. There's going to be a lot of oversight here, making sure that they don't sort of squeeze these cars out between the cracks. Now, the second option for Volkswagen is they can fix the car just like they would if you were going to keep it, and then it can be resold, then it can be exported. So there will be some cars that show back up on the used car lots after they go through the buyback. But as a result of this, they have to be completely certified by the EPA. They have to be relabeled. There's going to be a sticker under the hood that says this car's been fixed, it's approved, and the title is going to be labeled as well. It's going to be a lemon law buyback, probably not a salvage, but there is going to be a special title notation going on there. So on Carfax, on AutoCheck, on those types of things, you're going to see the fact that this car was a buyback, that it was fixed, and then it's going to roll out to the used car market. Whether or not Volkswagen chooses to do a certified program for their own dealerships or not known. I don't really think so. Now, how many of these cars are actually going to show up? I don't really see a major influx of these cars showing up on the used car market anytime soon, because Volkswagen's going to be spending a lot of money fixing customers' cars first. They're going to be investing a lot of money in that, because any of these used cars that they buy back, then fix to resell, those aren't going to be a moneymaker because they will have spent top dollar to buy these cars. They're going to have to spend another top dollar to fix them. And the chances that that car is even going to be worth what they just spent on it are going to be pretty low. So I don't see them blowing a lot of money on these cars right up front to get them fixed. And that sort of leads us to the next question is, will Volkswagen sell TDIs again? 2017 model year, 28. I don't know the answer to that, folks. My gut feeling is probably not, at least not anytime soon. This has hurt them. This has really given them a black eye, and this whole TDI thing's just been a complete cluster that I don't know how they recover from, quite honestly. What I do know is since then, all they've talked about is electric cars, hybrids, and that type of vehicle that is their future. So I do suspect they will sell TDIs again, and they are in other markets. Whether they make a big comeback here in the United States with them, that remains to be seen. I wouldn't hold my breath. If you really want one, be looking for used cars in a year or two. Now, this settlement is not yet approved. It'll be up for approval at the end of July, so in about 30 days from the time that this video was made. And once that is fixed, they anticipate rolling this out to the owners this fall, which means it'll probably be this fall, late this year, before the owners start hearing from Volkswagen as to, here are your options, here's how we get started on this. Now, this settlement, what it does basically is it addresses the FTC, the civil claim, which says, we're suing you because you lied to the people, and a lot of states were on that. The district attorneys in those states about the clean diesel, the three sisters, how clean it is, blah, blah. And then also the major lawsuits, fines, the civil claims by the Department of Justice. This puts those two things to bed. There are a couple other little states out there, a few little things that they still have to fix. Now, it does not address the 3-liter V6s that you're going to find in Audi, Porsche, and the Volkswagen Touareg. Doesn't address that. That's going to be a separate settlement, a separate fix. That'll come probably a little bit later this year. And it doesn't prevent criminal action. It doesn't preclude any one of the governments from pursuing criminal charges for any one person. I don't look for that. Most of these people that were directly involved in this aren't even in the United States. The likelihood that anything's ever going to become of that, very low, very low. But at the end of the day, what we've got here is there is a framework in place. The ball's moving forward to finally get this thing put to bed, which is good for Volkswagen. It's going to cost them nearly $15 billion at the very least here in the United States. A lot of the ancillary charges and things like that we don't even know yet. And it's probably going to cost them money to get rid of these cars outside of this, as we just talked about. These cars, even if they fix them or if they salvage them, they're going to be a net loss at the end of the day for the most part. So there's that. Now, if you're an owner or if you're just curious to get a little bit more specificity on this, there are two websites out there, vwcourtsettlement.com or audicourtsettlement.com. So there it is. I tried to take 225 pages and put it into some pretty clear and concise ideas. Now, if you have any questions that I didn't really address or you're curious about something, comments, whatever, put them down below, and I'll be watching this thing pretty close because this is a subject I'm quite fascinated with, and having been a VW TDI owner and an owner of many Volkswagens, this is a topic a little bit close to my heart. So I'll be watching this, and if I can answer your question, I'll be glad to. In the meantime, click on the link right here and subscribe to our YouTube channel because we do talk about this quite a bit, as well as our test drives once a week and other videos almost every other day. So stay tuned.